The PNM's desperate race card, manufacturing division where none exists, an editorial by Professor Wall Street. How the opposition distorts academic opinion into racial controversy. The People's National Movement's hysterical reaction to Dr. Kirk Mayhew's historical analysis reveals a party so bankrupt of ideas and so desperate to regain relevance that they will manufacture racial controversy where none exists. Their shameful attempt to transform an academic discussion about Trinidad and Tobago's independence history into a racial issue exposes the very divisive tactics they claim to oppose. Let us be absolutely clear. Dr. Mayhew's scholarly examination of our independence timeline contained no racial content whatsoever. His analysis focused purely on constitutional and historical facts regarding the sequence of leadership during the transition from colonial rule to independence. Yet opposition leader Penelope Beckles and former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley have cynically weaponized this academic discourse, playing the race card with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. This is the same PNM that under Dr. Rowley and Penny presided over a record 26.3% of black citizens living below the poverty line, the highest in Trinidad and Tobago's history, even as he once boasted that he could be the blackest man in Trinidad and Tobago. This is the same PNM that remained silent when their own MP Fitzgerald Hines made the racially charged comment about UNC members coming from the same murky lagoon. Where was their outrage then? Where were their passionate defenses of national unity when their own representative was making explicitly divisive statements? Here are 10 reasons why the PNM's race card strategy is deceitful and desperate. 1. No racial content in the original post. Dr. Mayhew's analysis was purely historical and constitutional, focusing on the distinction between federal and national leadership. There was no mention of race, ethnicity, or any divisive social commentary. The PNM has manufactured a racial angle where none existed. 2. Personal opinion, not government policy. Dr. Mayhew wrote in his personal capacity as an academic and historian. This was not a UNC government position or official policy statement. The PNM's attempt to conflate personal academic opinion with government policy is intellectually dishonest. 3. Selective historical amnesia. The PNM conveniently forgets their own history of racial rhetoric, including the murky lagoon comment by their MP Fitzgerald Hines. They apply different standards to their own members versus opposition figures. 4. Deflection from real issues. Unable to defend their disastrous 9.5-year record that led to their crushing defeat on April 28, 2025, the PNM desperately seeks to change the subject from their failures in governance to manufactured cultural controversies. 5. Misrepresenting academic discourse. The PNM's attack on Dr. Mayhew represents a dangerous precedent of intimidating academics and historians who engage in legitimate scholarly debate. This chills intellectual discourse and academic freedom. 6. Hypocrisy on national unity. The same party that spent years dividing the nation now claims to be the guardian of unity. Their sudden concern for national cohesion rings hollow given their own divisive track record. 7. Attacking the messenger, not the message. Instead of engaging with the historical arguments on their merits, the PNM resorts to character assassination and racial dog whistling. This reveals the weakness of their position. 8. Double standards on patriotism. The PNM's attempt to brand Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar as unpatriotic is particularly galling. This is the same Prime Minister who has been praised by CARICOM for Trinidad and Tobago's leadership in regional affairs and commitment to Caribbean unity. 9. Manufactured outrage strategy. This controversy follows the classic PNM playbook. Create a controversy where none exists, inject racial undertones, then position themselves as the defenders of unity. It's a cynical political strategy that insults the intelligence of the population. 10. Diversion from their failed legacy. The timing of this manufactured outrage is no coincidence. As Trinidad and Tobago recovers from nearly a decade of PNM mismanagement, they desperately need to distract from their record of economic decline, rising crime, and social division. The real divisive record. Let us examine who has truly been divisive in Trinidad and Tobago's recent history. Under PNM rule from 2015 to 2025, the nation suffered unprecedented levels of crime, economic stagnation, and social fragmentation. Their members made explicitly racial statements that they now condemn in others. They governed with an iron fist, dismissing legitimate opposition concerns and ruling as if they had a monopoly on patriotism. In stark contrast, Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar's approach to governance has been inclusive and unifying. Her call for national prayers instead of partisan celebration reflects a mature understanding that true independence requires spiritual reflection, not political grandstanding. Her absence from traditional ceremonies was not unpatriotic. It was a recognition that leadership sometimes means rising above partisan theater to focus on the nation's spiritual and moral development. The mother of the nation. The PNM's attack on Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar as unpatriotic is particularly offensive given her historic role as Trinidad and Tobago's first female Prime Minister, truly making her the mother of the nation. Her groundbreaking achievement in breaking the glass ceiling of political leadership represents a milestone in our democracy that should be celebrated, not diminished, by partisan attacks. Just as we rightfully honor historical firsts, we must recognize that Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar's pioneering role transcends party politics. Her leadership has opened doors for future generations of women in politics and public service. To attack such a historic figure as unpatriotic is to attack the very progress our democracy has made. David Rudder's warning realized. The great David Rudder warned us in Welcome to Trinidad about how most things are made into a race issue. The PNM's current strategy proves Rudder's prescient observation. They have taken an academic discussion about historical facts and twisted it into a racial controversy manufacturing division where thoughtful people saw only scholarly debate. This is the PNM's modus operandi. When they cannot win on the merits, they play the race card. When they cannot defend their record, they attack others' patriotism. When they cannot contribute constructively to national discourse, they resort to inflammatory rhetoric designed to divide rather than unite. The real non-issue. Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar was correct to call this controversy a non-issue. In a nation facing real challenges, economic recovery, crime reduction, healthcare improvement, and educational advancement, the PNM's obsession with manufacturing racial controversies from academic discussions reveals their complete disconnection from the people's priorities. The real issue is not what Dr. Mayhew wrote about independence history. The real issue is why the PNM, after leading the nation into nearly a decade of decline, thinks they have any moral authority to lecture anyone about patriotism, unity, or national service. In conclusion, the people of Trinidad and Tobago saw through the PNM's divisive tactics on April 28, 2025, when they decisively rejected their failed leadership. This latest attempt to manufacture racial controversy from academic discourse shows they have learned nothing from their resounding defeat. Trinidad and Tobago deserves better than opposition leaders who weaponize race for political gain. We deserve leaders who engage with ideas on their merits, who respect academic freedom, and who understand that true patriotism means working to build up the nation, not tearing it down with manufactured controversies. The PNM's race card strategy is not just morally bankrupt, it's politically desperate. The people have already rendered their verdict on who truly served the national interest. No amount of manufactured outrage can change that fundamental reality. As we move forward as a nation under Prime Minister Persad Bisesa's leadership, let us reject the PNM's attempts to divide us and instead focus on the real work of building a stronger, more unified Trinidad and Tobago for all our people. As the great Martin Luther King Jr. once said, we must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. The PNM's strategy of manufacturing racial controversies from non-racial academic discourse represents exactly the kind of foolishness Dr. King warned against. They would rather see us perish as a divided nation than allow us to live together as brothers and sisters, united in our shared Trinbagonian identity. Their desperate race baiting reveals a party that has chosen the path of the fool, manufacturing division where none exists, creating racial animosity from scholarly debate, and poisoning the well of national discourse for temporary political advantage. This is not the way forward for Trinidad and Tobago. Dr. King's words remind us that we have a choice. We can choose the wisdom of brotherhood and unity, or we can choose the foolishness of manufactured division. The PNM has made their choice clear.